Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I want to take a look at these Wago wire connectors that I seldom see talked about. Spelled W-A-G-O and sometimes pronounced Wago or Wago. The name of this company is actually pronounced Wago. I know, because I looked it up. Now, if you're watching from North America, you may not have ever seen or heard of these and may instead be more familiar with wire nuts like these. Interestingly enough, it seems that there is a strong distrust of these Wago connectors in North America as they're perceived comparable to the backstab connector that is so commonplace with electrical failures. This is enough to deter American electricians from using these in their installations. Keep in mind though that these are not backstab connectors at all, and they're actually quite reliable. We'll get into a stress test later in the video. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love anything related to smart home. If you're interested in that as much as I am, you can check out my smart home deployment tour here. Well, a couple of days ago, one of my smart switches completely failed. I was absolutely dreading replacing it, as I recall just how much of a nightmare it was to get 4 smart switches wired up and installed in a single 4-gang box. Knowing what was ahead of me, I decided to track down some Wago connectors to make the job easier. To my surprise, none of my home improvement big box stores in the area carried them at all, so I had to order a kit off of Amazon. My hope was that these would occupy far less space than a wire nut and make installing the larger smart switches more forgiving. Unfortunately, while the Wago connectors were stellar to install, there was just too much stiff copper in this box to make this job easy. Luckily, after 3 hours, extensive swearing, and considering selling my house and starting over, I was able to get all 4 reinstalled. While the installation frustration wasn't a result of the Wagos, I felt like I hadn't given them a fair shake, so I took off on a home improvement tear, starting with replacing my dining chandelier. After tearing out the old one and laying rest to a bunch of wire nuts, it was time to install the new one, and the Wagos made this job mega easy. No wrist cramping from twisting wire nuts, no forcing a rat's nest of nonsense into the ceiling box and hoping it doesn't fail. Everything went off without a hitch. With this newfound luck, I continued, and I decided to replace the lights over the island in my kitchen. This little job probably would have taken a professional electrician about 30 minutes, but thanks to the Wagos, I was able to complete it in about 2 hours instead of 5. 90 of those minutes were on account of me putting brackets the wrong way, and the nice thing about the Wagos is it's easy to just flip the switch and eject the cable and reset. Now, before we get into the stress test, let's chat a bit more about these connectors. Again, in North America, the most common wire connector are these, the wire nuts. The expectation is that you'll twist a bunch of wires up and put this neat little hat on top, and when you're ready to commit your wiring to the wall, pray that the hat doesn't fall off. With the Wagos, it's so convenient to just clip a wire in place and have certainty that it's not just going to pop off. What if you need to remove just one wire from a bunch to replace something? With the wire nuts, you have to undo the entire nut, remove the wire, and resecure. Not so with the Wagos. Simply flip the switch and eject. As for reusing these connectors, no problem. I know many of us will reuse the wire nuts just the same, but given how much the metal teeth can dull out and the plastic warp, it's not recommended. With the Wagos, no such worries. Just flip the switch and eject. Let's talk about the most pressing downside of using the Wagos instead of traditional wire nuts: price. I purchased a 35-piece set off of Amazon for about $30 USD. Alternatively, wire nuts are free if you know where all of your neighbors' air condensers are. Time is money, however, and I can install 100 of the Wago connectors in the same time it'd take me to break into my neighbors' yards and steal their wire nuts. So that should definitely be a consideration. Now, to the stress test. Before I reveal the results, drop a comment below and let me know how much weight you think this connector can withstand before failing. Let's get started with 10 pounds. Okay, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 pounds, 50 pounds. And finally, at 60 pounds, the connector finally failed. Do not compare these to the backstab connectors often found in switches and plugs in North America. These are a completely different beast. That's a wrap for this one, folks. I guess the takeaway is that if you're comfortable paying a little premium and waiting for shipping, give the Wago connectors a try in your next electrical project. You won't be disappointed. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.